So, how does a simple poem, just a few lines on a page, turn into a full-blown revolutionary battle cry? It sounds kind of crazy, right? But that's exactly what we're diving into today. We're looking at a song that did more than just capture a mood. It actually fueled an entire movement for freedom. This is the incredible story of Vande Mataram.
Yeah, that's really the big question here, isn't it? How does that even happen? You've got this piece of art, something born from quiet inspiration, and somehow it becomes this deafening roar of freedom that literally challenges an empire. Let's unpack that transformation. So let's rewind. The year is 1875. A song is written, but at the time, nobody could have possibly guessed the massive destiny that lay ahead for it. We're going to follow that journey, step by step, from its humble creation all the way to becoming the immortal voice of a nation.
Okay, so to really get a grip on why this song had so much power, we have to go right back to the very beginning, to the person who first put those words on paper. So, let's start with how this poem was even born. And it all starts with this man right here, Bankim Chandra Chatterjee. He was a major figure during the Bengal Renaissance. And, when he wrote the original words, he probably had no idea they would one day echo across the entire subcontinent.
And the song's journey started off pretty quietly. Chatterjee composed it back in 1875, and it was first published in a literary journal called Bangadarshan. But the real turning point? That came 7 years later, when he included it in his novel Anandamath. That's when things really started to change.
And look, Anandamath wasn't just some ordinary novel. No way. It was this epic story about ascetic warriors who literally worshiped their motherland as a living goddess. I mean, think about that. The idea was so potent that the philosopher Sri Aurobindo later called it the religion of patriotism. It was this amazing blend of spiritual devotion and a political awakening.
The novel took this idea even further by showing the motherland in three really powerful forms. First, her glorious past, then her tragic, enslaved present, and finally, the vision of her triumphant, resurgent future. It was like a complete story of a nation's struggle and its ultimate redemption, all wrapped up in this one powerful symbol.
All right, so we have this powerful idea tucked away in a novel. Now let's get to the exciting part. How did it explode from the pages of a book and become the actual audible voice of a massive movement?
Well, for that leap to happen, it took another giant of Indian culture. You've definitely heard of him, the Nobel laureate Rabindranath Tagore.
This right here, this is the moment. This is when the song literally jumped from the page onto the national stage. It was 1896, and Tagore sang Vande Mataram at the Indian National Congress session. Can you imagine? That one performance just electrified everyone there. It instantly transformed the poem from just a piece of literature into a powerful, undeniable political statement.
And ignite is the perfect word for it. By 1905, it's the official rallying cry for the huge Swadeshi movement against the partition of Bengal. A year later, a nationalist newspaper is named after it. By 1907, those words are literally inscribed on a flag, Madame Comma's flag, unfurled internationally in Germany. I mean, in just a handful of years, this poem became a political wildfire, spreading everywhere.
So when something spreads that fast, it's bound to evolve, right? And that's exactly what happens next. The song becomes more than just a protest chant. It becomes a direct weapon of defiance, the battle cry for revolutionaries.
I mean, it's pretty incredible when you stop and think about it. Just 2 words, Vande Mataram, Mother, I bow to thee. This simple phrase became something that absolutely terrified the British Empire. It wasn't just a slogan anymore, it was a declaration of war.
You had revolutionaries chanting it right as they were about to be executed. The British, of course, picked up on its power and banned it in schools and public meetings. But here's the thing, that plan totally backfired. Banning it only made it cooler, more rebellious. It cemented its status as this forbidden anthem and, in a way, made it even more powerful, uniting Indians from all over the country.
Okay, so fast forward. Independence is finally won. But that left a big question. What do we do with this song? The song that played such a massive role in the whole struggle. What would its official status be? And that brings us to its formal recognition.
And this is something that a lot of people get mixed up, so it's worth clarifying. While Jana Gana Mana became the national anthem, the formal official song of the new state, Vande Mataram was given this really special title, the national song. It's meant to forever be the symbol of the freedom struggle itself, the spiritual and cultural soul of the nation.
And this wasn't just some informal decision. It was made official on January 24, 1950. Dr. Rajendra Prasad, the president of the Constituent Assembly, stood up and made this declaration, saying, and I'm quoting here, "The song Vande Mataram shall be honored equally with Jana Gana Mana and shall have equal status with it." That really sealed its legacy.
So that brings us all the way to today, into the song's incredible, enduring legacy, one that's been echoing through a century and a half of history.
150 years. Just let that sink in for a second. In 2025, it's going to be a century and a half since those words were first written. It's a truly amazing journey, from a few lines in a journal to a national symbol that's still so powerful today.
And you can see just how alive this legacy is when you look at the plans for the commemoration. We're talking nationwide and even global celebrations. They're releasing a special stamp and coin, putting on exhibitions about the song's history, a global music festival, and even a tree plantation drive called Salute to Mother Earth, which is a really cool way to connect the song's themes to today's world.
So, when you look at it all, Vande Mataram is so much more than just a historical artifact collecting dust. It's a living bridge, right? It connects the inspiration of India's past with all the aspirations that are going to shape its future. And that really leaves us with one last thing to think about. The story of Vande Mataram is proof that words have immense power, that a single song can actually help shape a nation's destiny. So it kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it? What ideas, what words, what songs are shaping our world today?